Good morning. My name is Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we're getting the first update of the year from Eskay Mining, which trades on the Toronto Venture Stock Exchange under the symbol ESK. Joining me is Eskay's Vice President of Exploration, John DeDecker. John, how are things with you today?
Doing really good, Megan. Thanks for having us back again, and looking forward to discussing our results from the latest press release and what we're going to be doing going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday, the company announced more results from extensional drilling at the TV deposit. Could you walk us through some of the highlights from this press release?
Yeah, certainly. As always, we have our disclaimer. We'll be talking about forward-looking statements within this interview, so please do your due diligence when investing with Eskay Mining Corp. So we'll start off talking about some of the highlights from the press release. So we were releasing results from our drill program at TV as well as Tarn Lake. So I'll be talking about both of those VMS showings today. Starting off with TV, that's really been one of the big focuses of the last few drill programs of the last few years. And what we released in this press release was a lot of the results from our upper massive sulfide zone, which we've expanded considerably from our discovery hole last season. And we can show now that this actually extends over 100 meters along strike. And we've also done a significant expansion of the stockwork feeder zone with several of our drill holes off to the western part of the TV deposit. And then these are just some of the highlights we have here that we noted in our press release here. Notably, TV 22105, we have 4.89 grams per ton gold equivalent over 6.28 meters. This is the massive sulfide, or part of the massive sulfide, further to the north of the discovery hole last year. And then TV 22120 right here intercepted quite a long interval at 3.05 grams per ton gold equivalent, and that's actually 10.56 meters within a much larger interval at 1.83 grams per ton gold equivalent over 43.09 meters. And I'll show this in the maps here on the next few slides, but this really shows an expansion down dip of the stockwork zone immediately below the massive sulfide. And then we have our other drill holes here, TV 2297. This is also part of the stockwork zone, and this represents a northward expansion of the stockwork zone. And then TV 22109 down here at 6.88 grams per ton gold, or 7.15 grams per ton gold equivalent. That's another massive sulfide intercept. So I'll show you some of the maps here over the next few slides. I do want to start off with our geological map. Again, one of our big motivations for this past season is showing that we have district scale potential for VMS deposits. And again, I think we've succeeded in doing that. We've started to show that we have several of these VMS systems scattered around the property along these trends, not only along the Eskay Anticline, which hosts the Eskay Creek mine, which I'll annotate right here. The Eskay Creek mine would be right up here, kind of towards the top of the map right here, just to the northeast of Sib. And, going down this trend, we have Sib and Lulu, but then on the eastern side of that anticline, we have Jeff North, Jeff, and TV, which we're talking about in this release right here. And that's forming our Eskay Anticline trend of VMS systems, of which from our previous few seasons, it's appearing that TV is one of the better systems along that trend, in addition to Sib and Lulu. And then we have our Scarlet Tarn trend over here to the east, which I'll be discussing here shortly. So here's a map of TV. Looking down, this is some of our drone imagery that we flew over the TV showing, and this shows the drill hole traces of our holes from the 2022 program, as well as the historic and legacy rock chip samples, as well as some more recent rock chip sampling. And I think this is something that's really important to note, is the abundance of a lot of these higher grade showings or rock chip samples right over here around TV 106. This constitutes some higher grade samples within the stockwork zone to the west of what we drilled at TV over the past few years. And we drilled a few holes over here to test this zone, and we did indeed intercept mineralization over here, and we'll show that here on these next couple of slides. So here's a map view, and I kind of want to explain this a bit because I know not everybody out there in the audience is as gifted as geologists at understanding three-dimensional spatial awareness. It can be kind of difficult to interpret these maps, but what we're looking at here is a map view of the TV system right here, showing in bold our results in gold equivalent from the 2022 drilling. And then in these fine lines, those are the results from the 2020 and 2021 programs. These lines that are cutting across this map here, these are where the cross sections are located, and these are actually given in our UTM coordinates. So, anybody can actually plot these results on a map and do their own due diligence. That's why we do this, to aid with transparency, so people can really look at our deposit and understand what's going on. But what we've got here is a lot of this drilling from the 2020 and 21 programs, and these fine lines are intercepting this massive stockwork zone that we found at TV. And a lot of the holes over to the right side here, like TV 105, 120, for instance, 109, these are intercepting that massive sulfide zone, which we can now confirm actually extends over to TV 2154, something we drilled last year as well. We've really defined this massive sulfide zone that overlies the stockwork system. And this is very typical of VMS deposits. This is what we're looking for. And then as far as the stockwork zone is concerned, we're able to expand it a bit further to the north with TV 2297, as well as 95 and 96, which seem to be getting into some of the more anomalous kind of distal parts of the northern portion of that stockwork zone. What I think is really significant, though, are the results from these holes TV 106 and TV 108 off to the west of the stockwork zone. These are actually showing that the stockwork zone extends well over 100 meters to the west, up dip from our drilling over the past few years. So we'll go and show some of these cross sections here. So you can basically lay each of these cross sections vertically along the lines within this map view right here, just so everybody understands what we're doing. And then there's a kind of a lighter gray surface where these drill collars collar, that is the topographic surface right there. And what we're able to show here is really the three-dimensional view of these deposits, showing that in particular, we have our massive sulfide zone. That's really this cluster of bright red results here in the middle of these figures, particularly the four images off to the right side right here. But we also have our massive stockwork zone, and we're quite excited about the results from TV 106, 108, 112, where we intercepted quite large intervals of anomalous gold mineralization that host higher grade intervals. But what I think is important to note, and the audience can go back and look at that map that we have in the press release showing the rock chip samples with a much higher grade in the rock chip samples. That indicates that there are zones within this up dip extension of the stockwork zone that may harbor higher grade gold mineralization. So we really don't have that high density drilling within this area, and I think that's an area that TV could certainly be expanded off to the west. And I would also like to note that there's quite a bit of potential to the south if TV as well, going down further south to some of these other SkyTim anomalies. I don't think the book is closed on TV by any means. It actually has, if you look at the results historically, some of the best results we've drilled on the property to date. So that there's still a lot of work that can be done at the TV deposit. We're quite excited about that. Looking at the mineralization itself, we have off on the right side of this image, TV 22109, and what this is showing, off of the top part of this image, we have our dacite, which is a volcanic rock we found that is very closely associated with gold mineralization, as well as silicified mudstone. This is a silicification, a type of hydrothermal alteration that is closely related to the core of VMS systems. And then immediately underlying this silicified zone, we have some of our massive sulfide mineralization in TV 22109. And then going northwards to TV 22105, again, we have more of our dacite and silicified mudstone, and then getting into the semi-massive to massive sulfide, as well as some stockwork sulfide, all hosted by this silicified mudstone. So, given our results from this year as well as the past 2 years, we can show that we have indeed discovered seafloor hosted massive sulfide mineralization. This is the sort of material that we're looking for. And, again, these VMS systems occur along discrete stratigraphic horizons, and we've definitely found 2 seafloor horizons indeed at TV, of which this upper massive sulfide horizon seems to be one of the best ones. And that gives us a lot of encouragement working our way to the south at TV to continue looking along this zone, getting boots on the ground, and trying to define more extensions of this massive sulfide zone at TV based on a lot of our geophysical work. And, I do want to note, go back to the map here. Everybody might think this is just like a cakewalk terrain here, but it's worth noting a lot of these kind of gaps and north-south lines and trees, these are actually like, 30 to 50 meter cliffs out here. So it's not exactly the easiest terrain to work in. So it does take time and care to work in this sort of terrain out here. Looking at TV 22120, this was one of our longer intercepts. I do want to note this was drilled subparallel to strike, somewhat similar to TV 2163, 66, and 67, where we're kind of drilling down the long axis of our zone of mineralization. And this is where we intercepted our longest intercept at TV this season. And it's really showing that, we're going about 30 meters or so down dip from the holes in 2021, and we're still seeing the same sort of robust gold and silver mineralization hosted by stockwork sulfides within silicified mudstone, showing that this zone does indeed continue down dip from our drilling last season. So we're going to move over to Tarn Lake now. I think this is probably one of our most exciting new finds of the season. This was our maiden drill program at Tarn Lake, where we, returned to an area that had some encouraging legacy rock chip sampling, and then we conducted our new rock chip sampling program in 2022 and found that quite a bit of robust gold and silver results along this outcrop of Eskay rhyolite. Again, worth noting, this Eskay rhyolite is the same stratigraphic unit that hosts the world-class mineralization at Eskay Creek. And then I'll discuss some of the results from the drill program, as well as the interpretations our mapping team has come up with this season. But we're very encouraged about this area, not only because on our maiden drill program we've intercepted some pretty substantial gold and silver mineralization, but I'll add it's actually open down dip up section and to the east underneath Bruce Glacier. So we're really excited about this area over here at Tarn Lake. So looking at the drill results themselves, you can see this top image right here is a map view with our C to the C prime line right here indicating the center of the cross section, which is displayed below. We're looking south in this cross section, and I think it's really important that everybody understands these rock chip samples that we found scattered along the surface help define a zone of robust replacement style sulfide mineralization that extends down dip to our drill holes, with most of the best results being located on this southern drill pad right here. So we have Tarn 22, 12, 10, 4, 8, and 6 all have good gold and silver results, and that extends down dip from the surface results. And as you can see by this cross section, it's not closed in, it is well open down dip. You can actually see on Tarn 22-8 we TD'd in mineralization just because the rock was faulted up, and we're going to have to build another drill pad to actually get below that fault zone. But you can also see going off to the right side of this lower image, we have our rock chip samples indicating that this gold and silver mineralization does indeed continue up stratigraphic section. I do want to note this is one of the bigger results, at least as a geologist. I know the market might not be excited, but we know that stratigraphic up is to the west. This is very important for everybody to understand because VMS deposits are stratiform deposits. It's important to know what your stratigraphy is. And one thing we know now is that working up stratigraphy, working our way to the west, we are approaching the contact mudstone horizon. This is the horizon that hosts that world-class Eskay Creek mineralization that is 7 kilometers off to our west. So we've got a good orientation over here now. We know that we're in a VMS feeder zone that is well endowed with gold and silver. And now, after our hard efforts with mapping and sampling and drilling last year, we know where we are with respect to the stratigraphy and how to vector towards these seafloor horizons. There are probably multiple mineralized horizons based on what we see over at SIB and indeed over at Eskay Creek itself. Multiple mineralized horizons for VMS mineralization. And something else that's really interesting is looking at some of the drill holes that we reported in this release, Tarn 22-8. This interval has 1.49 grams per ton gold equivalent. There's really not that much in the way of sulfide in this rock. I mean, it's kind of hard to find, but the fact that there's that much gold and silver within a rock that really doesn't have that much sulfide in it augurs well for mineralization or finding more of this gold and silver, because like in Tarn 22-10, where you have much more gold and silver value, we have a lot more sulfide. We know that there are zones in this area just based off of our surface work and drilling that are much more well endowed with sulfides, and this is indicating that the sulfides themselves are quite enriched in gold and silver with respect to the sulfide abundance, which is exciting for us, because I'd say that's something different than what we see at Jeff, for instance, where we've got a lot of gold and silver mineralized sulfide, but there's actually a lot of sulfide that's more base metal. This stuff, all the sulfide appears to be precious metal enriched. These rocks are intensely hydrothermally altered, much more intense than anything that we've drilled on the property so far. So we're confident that we're on to a very significant discovery over here at Tarn Lake. So looking at the geologic map, as I had mentioned, it's important to note where stratigraphic up is. So we have our Eskay Creek equivalent rocks right here. Off to the right-hand side of that arrow is right about where Tarn Lake is. And our team, in addition to mapping the whole Scarlet Tarn trend, did some prospecting off to the west, because we were able to identify that the stratigraphic up was to the west. And what we found was that there's more of this Willow Ridge basalt, that is these green units within this yellow, which is Eskay rhyolite. The Willow Ridge basalt Eskay rhyolite contact is where the contact mudstone horizon is. This is where the Eskay Creek deposit is hosted, and you can see that over here up to the upper left side of the this image here where Eskay Creek mine is noted. That's the same stratigraphic position. So we're very encouraged by not only the robust gold and silver mineralization and the fact that all of the sulfides are precious metal endowed here, but that we're actually looking at a feeder zone with substantial hydrothermal alteration, stockwork mineralization, replacement style mineralization, working our way towards seafloor position over at this the Willow Ridge basalt Eskay rhyolite contact, which we're very excited to explore in 2023. And that's probably going to be one of the bigger things that we do, is really hammer this area very, very hard because, again, we found mineralization that is much more similar to Eskay Creek than anything we've seen on the property, aside from Sib and Lulu, which are, right along strike from Eskay Creek. And I also want to mention that we've clearly shown that there are 2 episodes of VMS mineralization in this district. We have our TV and Jeff systems, which formed, roughly 195 to 185 million years ago. And then things like Eskay Creek and all this upper Hazelton group systems like Sib, Lulu, and things on the Scarlet Tarn trend actually formed 15 to 20 million years later than TV and Jeff. So we have 2 episodes of mineralization here, and that's one of the big findings from this season as well. And that's certainly helping us vector towards more of these systems on our property. So a lot of important geological work done this season in addition to drilling. And I would like to hit at this point again with Tarn Lake and Scarlet Knob. As I'd mentioned in our last press release, as well as this one, these mineralized zones are controlled or closely associated with east-west trending andesite dikes. We can show, based on alteration and the proximity to mineralization, that these are synvolcanic feeder structures. So these are basically the feeders that supply the metals for VMS deposits. And we can show that Tarn Lake and Scarlet Knob are due east-west from each other. And there's a potential for a connection between these 2 systems underneath Bruce Glacier. As we've shown with our rock chip sampling, we have very good gold and silver results going right up to the margins of this glacier. Also important to note that these sample locations were not accessible in the early 1990s because the glacier covered this area at that point, and with glacial recession over the last 30 years, it's exposed more and more of this system, and we're very excited to find out what's underneath this glacier coming up in 2023.
Absolutely. And John, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with in terms of the next steps?
Yep. I'd like to let everyone know that, in addition to the drilling, and I've discussed the mapping and rock chip sampling, I have our team of geologists hard at work preparing for our 2023 program, which, Tarn Lake and Scarlet Knob are going to be a major component of that. We're really looking forward to expanding the footprints of these deposits, not only with drilling, but with channel sampling, which gives a much more, I'd say, uh, comparable results to drilling than rock chip sampling would. So we're going to be doing a significant channel sampling program in addition to drilling, because we've got a large property and we really want to hit as many of these targets as we can. But we're going to be focusing on this kind of Eskay rhyolite hosted mineralization, because we're really seeing potential at Tarn Lake and Scarlet Knob for a brand new undrilled area that's showing intense alteration, robust mineralization that's open in pretty much every direction. So we're really excited about that, as well as the potential to continue expanding the TV stockwork zone further to the west, as well as southwards, investigating some more of those geophysical anomalies. And let's not forget about Sib and Lulu as well, which is right next door to Eskay Creek. There's quite a bit of potential there that we're going to be exploring as well. And we did some background work on that over the last few seasons, and we'll be investigating this area in detail next season.
Well, John, we're very excited too, and we really appreciate you coming on today and giving us this update. We're looking forward to having you back on again very soon with more exciting updates from Eskay. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Megan.